chair out of the way. Good evening and welcome to this week's Fizzy Brain. My name is Aubrey Blakeledge. I am the person who will be sponsored by coughing this evening, apparently. And the person whose Fizzy Brain will be talking about. This is a stream, vlog, podcast, vanity project talking about creativity from the viewpoint of a weird, fizzy-brained bard wizard thing. That's me. So telling you lot, the people who keep me on the road, how I stay on the road and how I remain relatively focused whilst doing all this rubbish. And sharing the lengths I will go to actively avoid work and making noises in the background. So, if this is your first time to the stream, which I doubt, going by the numbers, but I'll say this anyway, for those of you listening on the podcast in the distant future or in the past, I don't know where it works now, timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly sort of thing, but the show is split into two parts. The first one is what I'm meant to be working on. I'll tell you how the progress of my album's going, how the tours are going. I'll cough myself ever closer to the grave. There we go. And then part two will be what I've actually been doing and the sort of stupid things that have distracted my little brain and made me do weird things. So first, what I'm meant to be doing, and second, what I'm actually doing. And this is a whole exercise of me trying to keep on track and doing the things I'm meant to be doing. Otherwise, I'll upset and disappoint you, lovely people. And that fear is what keeps me on a relatively straight and narrow. Although it's rather than straight and narrow, it's more straight and very wobbly. So let's get stuck in. What have I been working on so far? Well, as regular listeners will know, I'm working on the first Aubrey album. It is now being demoed, which is really exciting. I have been sending bits and pieces across to Mike and Charlie, my co-conspirators in this whole thing at the moment, and coughing myself to death. I've been ill, by the way. So yeah, the demos are coming along nicely. Not much more to report from that because it's just basically the same thing and putting down ideas and such like that. And once the demos are all complete and we choose the right ones, they will be going up on the Patreon, which many of you lovely viewers are part of. So that's exciting, and I'm getting really, really excited about doing that. But most of my time has been taken up by shows, which is marvellous. So I've been preparing for the Awkward Strawberry shows. A bit of news about that. So you might have seen on social media, but the London show is now free because the venue themselves, I can explain it in more detail here. So basically, the guys from the two bridges in London got funding from their head office to basically pay all the bands the money that I wanted to give the bands, and make the event free. So the idea they could bring in more people, support the band, support the idea behind the whole evening, which is fantastic, and give it a jolly good, the best chances it can of succeeding, which I think is absolutely smashing. So, wonderful if we can get this off the ground, not only whether I or not I run the thing and going forward, or they run a regular sort of cabaret night at the two bridges in London. Either way, they're going to be supporting underground music of all kinds of genres, and the general public will have an event they can get in touch to, get part of, get connected to, and start building on, which is smashing. Really good news. The downside is, bad bit of news unfortunately, is that Grant can't make the event because of a scheduling conflict, which has turned up because I meant to tell him the 15th of February. I actually told him the 15th of January, which is two very different dates, because one of them is tomorrow and the other one is in February. So that went wrong, that's my fault. So, but the rest of the acts, including myself, will be there, which is smashing. So it's still free. And it's not free because that happened. That happened at the same day, on the same day that it became free, which is sort of hooray and oh. So one of those things, such is life. Tickets are starting to sell quite nicely, which I'm really happy about. I don't mean that in a plug kind of way. I mean it in a sort of like, when you start seeing people starting to build up and pay for tickets in a couple of months beforehand, it's a really reassuring sight. I mean, having no ticket sales until 3 days beforehand is squeaky bum time, and I don't want squeaky bum time considering all of the different things I'm running at the moment. So if you've bought tickets already, thank you very much, which is marvellous. So yes, so that's the London shows and bits and pieces. The What Are You Doing in My House tour is going along rather lovely. The weekend just gone. I've had two more house shows. Shout out to Tom and shout out to Siobhan. Siobhan is a name that I used to think for a long time was Sabhoyan, but obviously it's Siobhan and it's Irish, which is why it's got the V. The B is the V. It's once you understand, once I get my head behind the logic of what the letters mean in the languages. When I discovered that D in Welsh is th, so that's why Cardiff is spelt with two D's in Welsh, because it's actually still Cardiff. It's just Cardiff, effectively. And the same with Irish is Siobhan. Anyway, not important about Siobhan's name. It's the gratitude of Siobhan and Tom for putting on the two shows. And a little bit of as a thank you to the pair of them, because they did a bit of driving me around and actually dropped me off back in London before I went to Brighton, which comes back to a story later on in the what I got up to part of the show, but that later on. So thank you again, Tom and Siobhan. Then we had the gig in Brighton, which was, if I'm honest, a bit of a... Well, it started off as looking a bit of a disaster. 1 member of the public and 3 members of staff who turned up. But it ended up being smashing, because I just went for it and had a good laugh. And they've invited me back, and they've asked the band back, so which is great. So clearly I made a decent impression, rather than just costing them money and time. So what we ended up doing is I did a 2-hour show, and I saw on the shelf behind the bar at the Yellow Book that there is a diving helmet. I decided that naturally I needed to do at least 1 song in the diving helmet, and then had a bet with the bar supervisor, the owner, and 2 of the members of staff that had come along, that I could actually play a set, or as many songs as possible in the helmet. And I was able to do it. Number one, I was able to fit my fat head inside of the helmet, which was great. The acoustics inside of the diving helmet are actually really good. I'm not sure how good it sounded coming out of it, and also it was slowly moving over my face, which meant I had to sort of rotate my head to keep the microphone in the hatch at the front, which was for great comedy effect, able to open up, sing, and then close it between the songs, but then it kept on flapping shut and shutting on the microphone. And also there's 4 screws in the top of the head, which were sort of digging into the flesh, and as it pulled forward, I'm pretty sure it was scalping me, which is good. So I got a tea towel and put that on there, and problem solved. So yeah, if you're ever going to put on a gig and wear a diving helmet, have a tea towel to hand, because it's just comfort. It's all about comfort nowadays. That was great. And we also got, the sock puppet from the show, as regular viewers will know. I've actually got 2 sock puppets for this weekend, because one of them we didn't do because I got too distracted by coughing. So, to go forward, this is from the house show in Maidenhead, which I think I put on social media. So they kept it quite simple. So this, if you don't know, by the way, I had the blue seater badge, which I give out to people who create things at shows, build craft stuff, make stuff. Alex and Kyle, I do apologise. I am going to send you your badges. I just keep on being distracted by things. I will get them out to you in the next week. It's on my list of things to do. I do apologise. But anyway, so you get a blue seater badge at my shows if you help build something or get involved. And one of the things we're doing at the moment for the song for my song for the Christchurch Dragon is to build a sock puppet. So the dragon has a bit of a myth and a story. So this was the sock they started off with, quite simple. But then they went from minimalist to quite blingy and created a small crown. A little crown there. So this is Queen Lizard Breath II, Her Royal Highness, Queen of the Dragon people, which I quite liked. I love the hat. I love the fact, I don't know if you can see it from here. Obviously, consider this was made on the fly by a bunch of drunk people in a house party, what was effectively a house party. You can see this lovely purple lining around the inside of the crown, and then to create authenticity, this pearl here was stolen from an Indian principality in the 1800s, and then added to the crown for a bit of authenticity there, which is marvellous. So this is Queen Lizard Breath the second, sorry. There we go. Which I do like. I do need to find out what the hell I need ideas of what to do with these fucking sock puppets, so I'm going to be drowning in the fucking things. But this is possibly one of the most sort of, what's the right word? One of the most complicated and well-built dragons. So we've got a lovely little tongue, just nothing there. Nothing unusual there, nice bit of tongue. Someone's actually used the heel to make the mouth, which no one's done before, so that's a good start. But also, I don't know if you see these. Each of these has been individually cut and glued. How cool is that? So this is Monte. His full title is The Dragon from Del Monte, which is possibly absolutely marvellous. I think he's one of the best, if not the best, made dragon. That's not having a go at the other dragons that have been made over the months, but because they've all been fabulous. But this is a bit of extra effort. It did take 5 songs to get this one done. The person making it was determined to put the time in. So, yeah, I do need to work out what the flying fuck I'm doing with those things. So if you have any ideas, stamped addressed envelope to my house with your ideas, and we'll go from there. So yeah, big shout out to Tom, Siobhan and the team from the Yellow Book for helping me with the puppets and having a really nice, wonderful evening actually. Oh, there is a video going to be going up on social media soon of me playing in the diving helmet, and also of us using the dragon from Del Monte to nearly set fire to the bar at the Yellow Book. Not deliberately, we just wanted to set fire to stuff. Nothing specific, but we did nearly set fire to the bar. It looks good though. It looks like he's eating a spoonful of fire to help the medicine go down or something anyway. But yeah, wonderful gig. And yeah, it could have been a washout. And then a member of the public turned up after we created the dragon, and then joined us, and then we had a smashing time. And that person had a very intense experience, a very intense Aubrey experience, because I went at him, not sort of like in a negative, joking at him. Basically, I did all of the talking I do between songs at one person. If you can imagine how intense that would be if you've ever been to one of my shows, and imagine it just one person getting everything. That's basically what happened. He had a great time. Bought a shirt as well, so I don't know whether that was generosity on his part or some form of Stockholm syndrome. Anyway, right, so that's it. So we've got Brighton gigs. Oh yeah, and another bit musical sort of bit of news. I'm potentially doing a job for Southampton Football Club as a quizmaster, which is rather weird. The reason I bring it up is it's potentially a useful little job, because in the festival season I'm going to be doing lots of comparing and stuff like that, and this is a sort of a nice little bit of practice and a bit of money in the back pocket and that sort of thing, but also it's just a sort of a nice bit of sort of practice for these kind of things. It could be a pile of shit. I will find out tomorrow when I go along to see one of the events being done by someone else, and then potentially in February I'll be doing that, which is rather exciting, and it could be crap or it could be good. It could be a bit of a laugh, but who knows? So I just saw from the chat, would a series of mannequin feet be any good for the dragons? You might get some strange looks buying a dozen feet at once. That's a good point actually. Yeah, I could mount them on mannequin feet. That would be quite nice. Yeah. For those of you listening on the podcast, I am obviously, the original part of this recording is on Twitch, so I will be talking to the chat. I will try to include, I will include all the text that's sent to me, so I won't just be having half conversations with those of you who are listening to us in the future on a podcast. So, but bear that in mind. But yes, the idea of covering all the walls of my office in feet, and then putting sock puppets on them. That could be, if you were staying in my house and you weren't aware that was going on, that would be fucking terrifying, quite frankly. But yeah, fuck it, why not? That could be funny. Not a bad idea actually. Yeah, I like that. But where the fuck would you get just specifically feet? I think you're up to something. Or they'd be really. It was one of those things that will either be really cheap or really expensive. Yeah. So the quiz mastering, that could be shit. That could be great. That could be bang average, but either way I'll be trying out new things. And also, speaking of new things, that would start in February. February, when the gigs start slowing down a little bit before I go back into the actual full-on hammers and tongs spring tour, I will be doing some an acting job, which is quite exciting. From research and development, script writing, rehearsals, all the way up to a final production at the Mast in Southampton, which is exciting. We've got all the dates for that. I'll be putting them up on here and in Patreon and social medias and all that sort of thing. So it's really exciting. So more about that closer to the time, because as you can tell within the timing, I've got lots going on. So we'll talk more about that later. So I am very excited about that. It's become very creative now that I've gone gone full time. Opportunities seem to sort of head in my direction. I think because out of pity, people will go, well, you need money. Please ask my friend if they want to clean the gussets from your acting company's clothes or something. I don't know where I was going with that, but you know what I mean. It's nice. I can take the opportunity to try things, and if it works, it works. If not, it's not. And yeah, things are going well so far. So yes, that is pretty much what I'm meant to be working on. So yeah, demoing tracks, promoting Awkward Strawberry. London shows are now free, which is good. Grant can't make it though. The tour's going nicely. There's a new date in Swindon on the 27th of February featuring B-sides, which is going to be wonderful before I go up to the pit with B-sides and Madam Misfit, which is great. Big thanks again to Tom and Siobhan for hosting the house shows and driving me around bits and pieces, which is nice. The sock puppets were great, and we did the Brighton gig. We nearly set fire to a bar, and I've become a quizmaster at Southampton Football Club, potentially. So yeah, lots of things going on. So this will be the end of part 1, and then wait for the few messages, because if this were an actual podcast, this is where the adverts will go. So yeah, see you in a bit. Have you considered pegging? Are your laundry bits and pieces getting away from you when you need something hard and strong thrusting into your washing, holding it in place, sometimes against its will? Pegging. Pegs. Such luxurious pegs. Lacquered for your pleasure. Peggy, peg, peg, peg. And if it gets a little too tight or a little rough, you can always put a little bit of lubricant and make the pegging all that easier. Pegs. What on earth were you thinking about? Thanks for those lovely messages there from our fantastic sponsors. Welcome to part 2 of the show, where we'll talk about what I'm actually doing compared with what I was meant to be doing. So that stuff before the advert break was the useful bits and pieces that are forwarding my career that's relevant to what I'm doing. This part of the show is the absolute, arguably, useless stuff that is effectively, in a way, getting in the way. But still, I'm going to do them because I get easily distracted and like shiny things. So first of all, I may have mentioned in the first half, I'm still ill. I'm getting over the illness, but instead of coughing up tons of lung butter, I'm just sort of becoming gruffer in the voice whenever I cough too much. So it's just a dry cough now. So I think I'm over the hump, over the squidgy bits, and now into the dry bits. There we go, there's an example for you. More of them later in the show. Those of you who are on Twitch can see there's a little scab under my right eye. Because I got a sty. Brilliant. So I finally start getting over this fluey thingamajig, and then that happens. So great. Which is always nice when you sort of think, I'm getting over one sickness, and then another one turns up, and you know if those of you who have styes or eye infections, these things, they sort of disappear for a bit, and then they just come back, whether you like it or not. They're always there. If you have them once, you'll have them again. And it's generally at times of stress, if you're not washed properly, or you've just been ill. So whenever that does come back, everyone just thinks you're a dirty little oik that doesn't fucking wash. And I was just stressed and also very ill, so that's where mine came from. So I had this sort of thing that looked like I'd been punched for several days. But the thing that's really frustrating about these things is that when you can see that you know that a sty is coming, you know you've got fuck all you can do about it for a week, and you're going to have this fucking thing on your eye. So yeah, I've had that. I'm not sure it's really been incapacitating, but it's just annoying having a tiny little headache on your eye. But there we go. So before I go on to this week's Great British, the British Rail Book Club, I actually tell you a little side quest and let you guys know here on Fizzy Brain, whether you be the podcasters or the streamers, a little secret side quest that I've been working on. So for the last year, well actually, sort of a year, I have decided to sort of embrace how weird my brain is. Like this podcast, for example, I know my brain goes all over the place and finds different things and finds different shiny things. And I realised that I need to sort of embrace it to understand it, so then I can work around it and create things. And so it's not just sort of fighting against myself. There's dealing with things that are a problem and then using it to, not say an advantage, but sort of going along with the flow. And so part of that was realising that when I was reading books, I had a problem with concentration, and sometimes I would want to read different books. And what I would do is try and force myself to read one book at a time. That never worked. Sometimes if the book really captured me, I could just pile through it. But if it wasn't one of those books that was amazing or really connected with me at the time, I wasn't quite or I wasn't in the right mood for it, I would just sort of sit there trying desperately to read it. You know that thing when you get sellotape and you're trying to get a little bit and scrabble it with your fingernail and it just won't fucking get started, and then you rip a bit of it and then you have to make it kind of thing, bollocks, but with a book. So what I realise now is that I actually have about 5 books on the go at once. This is basically whatever kind of book, when I'm in the mood for reading something, the style of book that I'm in the mood for, I can jump into. And then once you start reading it again, your brain reconnects with it and build it, and off you go. And so this is where the the British Rail Book Club comes from, and why I go through so many different books. It's not because I'm a fast reader, it's because I'm working on several at once, because that's how my brain works. So most of you already know that part for the book club, but the reason I mention it, talk about the side quest thing, is because I decided, again as part of this embracing of how my weird brain works, that when I would go into bookshops to find a new interesting book, if I didn't have a plan, it was that thing when you go into Woolworths and you just get lost because there's too much random crap. So it's best to have a sort of a plan, but not too tight, because you know you're probably not going to succeed. So I thought, I want to read Dune. Frank Herbert's Dune, the sci-fi classic that inspired 1 billion hours of fantastic looking movies, and a very weird movie from the 80s with Sting wearing tiny silver hot pants. And I thought, I want to finally read it. I remember it in school, but I never got around to it because it looked a bit like much, and I thought, well, I'll give it a go and see if it's any good. So I set myself the challenge of finding a copy of it in a charity shop or at a second-hand bookshop. Not buy a new one, not go online, go into a charity shop and find one. So I did, and it was great. I would go into charity shops, I would go looking for this book, but I'd also find little bits and pieces that I wasn't expecting, that would jump out at me, and I'd buy them because it's cheap, it's a charity shop, it's fantastic, and I've discovered so many lovely books, and it's helped, and it's great. But that was a year ago, and whenever I go on tour, I find charity shops or I find weird bookshops. Or if I wander around town, I pop into the charity shops. I have been searching. I would search at least 3 to 4 charity shops a week for a year, and I haven't found a fucking copy of it. Now, I'm beginning to think that I may have actually imagined the fact that Frank Herbert wrote a book called Dune. The only reason I think it's real is I found the sequels a couple of times. Children of Dune, House of Dune, Dune, That's What I Call Music, you know, that sort of thing. But I've not been able to find a single copy. I don't mean I'm looking specifically for a version of it. I mean any version of fucking Frank Herbert's Dune, and I'd be happy. I thought as well, because it's a popular movie, it'd be easier to find, because like when Lord of the Rings came out, or when Percy Jackson Lightning Thief came out, when fucking Twilight came out, you could basically, those books were more readily available in charity shops than ABBA's Arrival. It was everywhere. Now, I wasn't expecting there to be fucking tons of them, but I was sort of expecting maybe in a few days I might find it in a couple of weeks, maybe a month. I've not seen fucking it anywhere. In any kind of shop, it's gone fucking missing. It's really fucking weird. And I've looked for the movie versions, I've looked for all different things. It's just gone. And I don't understand it. It's really weird. So I still keep searching. I'm going to keep going until I find it. Now, this isn't me going, oh, I need your help I want you guys to find it for me or anything. I really don't. I want to find it myself in a charity shop in some weird town somewhere. The reason I'm telling you is that I thought I was onto a winner of a shop that I knew would have it. It would definitely fucking have it. Because I was going to Brighton for the show, I went to Snooper's Paradise. If you know Snooper's Paradise, you know exactly what I mean. If you've never been to Brighton or to Snooper's Paradise, I recommend taking a trip to treat yourself to the lanes in Brighton. Every kind of mad hippie shop is there. Every kind of regular shops around nearby as well. But there's a particularly mad shop called Snooper's Paradise, which is one of those flea market style shops where there's loads of cases, like glass cases filled with stuff. You basically go up to the till, ask for case 35, they go and find 35, unlock it for you, buy the expensive piece of tat, and then off you go. And you got everything from fucking vinyl to Nazi memorabilia, more vinyl, shotguns, strange mannequins that you can use their feet to put sock puppets on, and other such random crap. It's, you know, sublime to ridiculous in one simple shop. And they have books. They have lots of different books, and they have sci-fi books particularly. And I thought, I'm gonna fucking find it today. Finally. In I go. I find every other Dune book, not the first one. And it was the most infuriating fucking thing in my life. I've never thought I would be so angry to not find a book in a bookshop before. And I nearly... I just literally at one point I was just standing there vibrating with fury about not finding a book, which made me feel insane. But that's the sort of thing that I've gotten to. I just wanted to share that with you guys, that's basically what my love of books and other things has happened now. It's become a strange addiction, but here we are. So, that being said, what books are in the British Rare Book Club this week? Well, I discovered in my looking in the charity shops while searching for Dune, this little puppy. Now, Robert A. Heinlein's Heil Hitler's Starship Troopers. This, I was pleasantly surprised how easy it is to read. It actually is quite a sort of easy to read book. It's really quite nice. Saying quite nice, it's a war book. But this is the funny thing is, because considering how political the film is and how overtly satirical it is, this doesn't feel satirical. It just sort of, it's like there is a war in space. This is what's going on, kind of thing. And oh dear me. And it's, yeah, I'm not sure what I expected from it, but it's, you know, I've been chuntering through it. It's a great little book, and I'm glad that I've got a copy of it. And yeah, it's one of those funny things. It's a very sci-fi style cover, and I kind of expected Dune to look. I want a copy of Dune really that looks like this, but yeah. It was in Brighton in Age UK for £2.49. Every other bookshop in the fucking country is like £1. And no, not in Brighton, £2.50. But brilliant little book, and really enjoyed it. So, what are you guys reading? If you're reading anything at the moment or reading anything different, put it in the chat. I'd love to hear from you. I'll have a read a bit later on once we finish the stream and do our Q&A afterwards. So, if you have a current book you want to share, pop it in the chat, and we'll come back to that a bit later. So yeah, British World Book Club. On the way back from Brighton, a lot of the stories tonight are related to Brighton. I was quite you know when you're satisfyingly tired when you've done a lot of hard work, and I felt I did a good week's work and a good weekend's work, and so I got on the train to go home, and then just slumped into my chair, put my well-worn, battle-hardened shopping trolley filled with merch into the storage unit, slumped down in one of those horrible Southern Trains chairs, the ones that feel like it's a brick covered with spit as a cushion, and sat down. I wasn't even sort of like, I don't want to listen to music. I was trying to think, do I listen to music at this point? You know, when you're beyond being able to listen to audiobook or music, and you just sort of sit there in abject silence. And I thought, I'll just allow myself to sort of slow down, let the train journey get on, and then put the headphones on, listen to Sue Perkins talking about cake or something. And then a drunk guy came on, dressed in some really you know the way Marty McFly dresses in when he's dressed like a cowboy, what the 50s thought cowboys were in the 1800s. He was, beg your pardon, sorry, yawning everywhere. He was so wearing the tassels and the black and white and things like that, and then came on and then started playing this drunken rendition of Ring of Fire, unbidden, at people in the train, and he just went and just started ruining Johnny Cash covers. And I, in my tired state, I may have wanted to shoot a man just to watch him die. I considered even just pulling the emergency brake and throwing him out the window just to watch him die, and I think many people in that train carriage wanted to as well. But it was just, I think any other time, I think I'd have been up for it. I like, the cheeky little chabby, someone doing a bit of on-train busking, but it felt very much like when the train started and it was sort of pulling away from the station, that's when the fucker started. It's like, I've got you in here and you can't go anywhere. And then started playing at us, and it's just, I just hope someone makes you dead. And it was like very antisocial of me, and very anti-musician, considering I'm a musician, especially as I'm a jobbing musician. I should be on his side, but not at that moment. And what was worse is down the other end of the carriage, people started clapping, and he kept on playing. Fuck. God, I was tired. But, you know, it's just one of those things. But, yeah, so there was that. Dear God. Well, speaking of music and drunkenly playing it, I also rediscovered my auto harp. I have an auto harp because stupid. And yes, it's terribly tuned, so I won't bother playing anything with it. Marvellous little thing. So, and also when you play it like that, it sounds really spooky. Atmospheric. I didn't put the notes on here, that's how it was supplied. But I managed to tune it for about 15 seconds. Well, it took more than 15 seconds, about 2 years to tune this fucking thing with these tuning bags. But I didn't have an actual tuning spanner. I had to use basically a tiny socket set to make it work, and it didn't quite work, so I'm going to pick up a tuning tuning key tomorrow, and have a go at learning how to play this fucking thing. But that's not bad, is it? And then maybe I can be the one on a train back from Brighton when the doors close and no one can escape, and start playing Ring of Fire on this. I like to think he's on fire somewhere right now. Anyway, because I forgot to say it earlier on, thank you very much for joining me on the stream this evening, by the way. If you have a drink in your hand, raise it up and put it in your face. I'm currently drinking my, is it raspberry? No, that's blackcurrant. Yes, blackcurrant, beg your pardon. I'm drinking it neat because I've run out of tonic, so I'm going to try not to get plastered by drinking that. Anyway, yes, smashing. So, yes, what did I else get up to? So I got my auto harp. I managed to, oh yes, I don't think I mentioned this. I think I might have mentioned the Pilgrim's Passport in Canterbury. So this is like a sort of another side quest of mine, where I pop round and get the stamps of all the different cathedrals I visit, because I like seeing old cathedrals. Now, there's a cathedral I visited with Lily last year. We were on holiday and we went to the Tower of London. We popped by Southwark Cathedral, but didn't get the chance to go in. Now, I was chatting to Tom at his house party, and I was going to be coming, and basically at Tom's house party, I was going to be going up to Waterloo Station and then across to Brighton and then back round to Southampton after his show in Wokingham, beg your pardon. And he said Worthing. I got confused with Lily. Both of us kept saying Worthing, although it's not Worthing, it's Wokingham. Very different place. He very kindly gave me a lift because I told him about this idea of going to Southwark Cathedral. And so what I was able to do was go to Waterloo, run across to Southwark, which is a 26-minute walk, and then speed on back, get on the train, go to Brighton. And I've got my Southwark Cathedral stamp, which no one cares about because only I'm that sad enough to do that sort of thing. So yes, it's been good. I've been seeing cathedrals and all such things. I also went into a gun shop, which I haven't done for a while, which was quite nice. I am an old target shooter. It's something I'd like to get back into again. I really don't have the time for it, but you know, every time I see a decent, well-run firearm shop with actually decent target shot rifles, I do like to have a nice little wander in and have a look. And they had an excellent supply of bits and pieces, and it was quite a nice little place to chat to, and they were very, very nice. But one of those funny things is I was in there just sort of browsing away. Again, dressed, not say again, it's the first time I said it, dressed in my usual sort of hippie attire, just looking around at a room full of guns, looking very much like the hippie, sort of like they're probably expecting me to say something, is the meat murder or something. I mean, it is, but, let's not talk about that right now. So I was looking at the firearms, and there was this couple with two women behind me asking him inane questions about knives, and they were like, so you do checks? I was like, yes. He's like, do you ask what if you don't like what they say? It's like, I don't sell knives, we refuse knives. Competent knife shop, gun shop owner stuff. And then this strange comment came out, and the only reason I'm mentioning it is because of this strange comment stuck with me, which is from one of these women, and she said, because I think it was involved in a stabbing in London that had been quite recently. She said, it's all right when it's far away, but when it's near your house, it's a bit scary. And it's like, it's all right when it's a bit far away. Stabbing. It's not, I'm less worried when it's far away. I can get that point, but it's all right when it's far away. Call me a freak, but generally I think that stabbings are shit wherever they are, really. I mean, whether it's next door or 6 miles down the road. And I don't think even I would say I'd rather they happen 6 miles down the road. If it was, I'd rather it happen. I'd rather they didn't happen at all, let alone a hypothetical, I'd rather it was not near me. I'd rather it didn't happen if I'm going to be imagining false situations that didn't fucking happen. But I'm not quite sure why she was there. She was sort of asking about the knives that she didn't like the idea of people having, and then asked the gun shop owner what he would do if they were buying knives, which was very odd. Anyway, so that's what happened there in the weird little gun shop. So it's been an interesting sort of week, actually, looking back over what's been going on. So with all the shows and various bits and pieces, and Johnny Cash buying an art, running across London to get a cathedral. I nearly slipped over and slipped into traffic on a very slippery puddle, which is exciting, I know. In London, because, why not do that when you're in the capital? Guns, cathedrals, running, crap Johnny Cash and Starship Troopers. It's been a very interesting week. So, thank you very much for joining me this week. It's been an interesting time. Next week, I'm going to be doing 2 more house shows on the 17th and 18th. Off to the West Country, then to Southampton, then back to the 25th for the last January house show, which is also in Southampton, which is great because it means I don't have to travel that far. And also, it's going to be odd because I'm going to have 2 weekend days off, which is going to be rare this year. So I'm going to enjoy them. I'm going to do fuck all, which, I work a lot during the week. Believe it or not, I still do part-time, sort of work at a care home, so I'm still constantly working and such like that. It's all musical stuff, so it's great, I'm not complaining. But when I have downtime, I'm going to fucking use it. I may just play computer games, or just cough myself to death. Apparently, that's just what my body wants to do. So that's January. February, we've got the 1st of February, like I say, keep saying, Icebreaker. If you've got nothing to do and you fancy coming down to Portsmouth, it's always a good laugh, there's always some good music on, so do come and join us. 14th and 15th of February are the new Awkward Strawberry shows. Tickets for Hobbit are still on sale on the 14th of February, and tickets are now free for the 15th of February, which is going to be smashing, so come and join us there. I've got a couple of house parties and a private show on the 21st and 22nd of February, and I've got a new gig, like I said before, on the 27th of February at the Tup in Swindon with B-sydes, and then the 2 of us are going to be having a road trip up to the pit in Newstead in Nottinghamshire for the 28th, which is going to be smashing, and that's all my gigs in February. So it's going to be absolutely wonderful. So if you can, come and join us. If not, join me on the other spring tour. So find me on all the social media. Social media's become a fucking bitch now, isn't it? So Threads is owned by a coward. Twitter is now owned by a megalomaniac that's trying to buy all of social media so he can tell people that he's cool by paying someone to complete video games so he can say he's the best version of that. of that video game. And that's actually true. That's what's just come out about Elon Musk recently. He is literally paying someone to play video games with his user handle so he can brag about how good at video games he is. I mean, what is wrong with him? Oh, seriously, what a sad little prick. Facebook, also owned by a little lizard coward man. It's Instagram, same fucking problem, which is a shame because I was beginning to like Instagram. You can search for Aubrey Blakeledge on these platforms. I have no idea what I'm going to do instead because I think we're all getting sick of jumping between them, but they're all becoming so fucking shit. Oh dear. And TikTok is also looking like it's going to be shutting down in the US, which doesn't really affect me in the UK because my audience is the UK. But apparently Elon Musk has suggested buying it, and then Trump were like, yeah, we can keep that if Elon's owning it, which is like, brilliant. So what? That's not bent at all, is it? Fucking hell. We just want to post shit online and just talk bollocks, but apparently sad little fucking man babies want to use it to control the world. Right, and enough of that bollocks, and then you can go on to Bandcamp and Spotify, and you, instead of trying to destroy the world, you can just rip off musicians. Oh, dear me. But it's all kinds of bits and pieces. Yeah, Mr. Beast has also thrown out wanting to buy TikTok now. From the chat, sorry. Yeah, I saw that, and again, another sort of YouTuber / millionaire getting billionaires to buy social media on a whim, when they could use that money to literally pay the fucking homeless or pay for support wildfires and such. Remember that when Elon Musk said that when I will, if I had the money, I could sort out world hunger, and the UNICEF and the UN organisation for dealing with hunger said it would cost, I think it was £6 billion, and he went, oh, well, no, I need it all, properly proofread. Oh, I don't have that money, and then he spent 44 billion buying Twitter. Accidentally, still hasn't paid out that £6 billion to those companies to eradicate hunger around the world. If you can buy fucking Twitter or a social media network, you can fucking end world hunger, and we've actually got a price on it given to us by the UN, and people aren't doing it, which is fucking mental. Anyway, sorry, this is meant to be a fun podcast. I promised myself I wouldn't do that because I want to relax and not talk fucking bollocks. Anyway, so yes, Spotify, all that sort of things. So you can join me on Patreon and support me doing other such weird shit and get free early access to the albums and such. Like I said before, once the album has been demoed, I'm going to sort out doing a timetable for a GoFundMe kind of thing, so that I know that when I put the GoFundMe up, I know when I'm going to be going into the studio and what I need to pay, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, check that out on all the social medias and other such things. And obviously follow me on Twitch if you want to join these shows live when they go out every Tuesday, and then join me for an absolutely weird natter after the stream finishes, which we're going to do very, very shortly. So yes, with that, I think that is the end of this week's stream. Thank you very much for joining me, however you've joined me, of this tuning in, downloading, streaming, whatever. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for partaking, however you have. And as a farewell, if you have a drink in your hand, raise it up and put it in your face. Have a lovely evening. Oh, I keep forgetting that's neat. That is going to destroy my brain.